welcome back to Mic'd Up with Amulika. Today we have a very interesting topic that I've been wanting to share for a long time. And apparently, according to our Instagram poll, a lot of people want to talk about this as well. So the topic is comparing yourself with other people. And honestly, it's such a real topic because I feel like everybody struggles with this. We want answers, but it's complicated, right? So we have Emma Castorri today to help us break it down. She's a talented softball player here at UGA, and I'm really excited to hear her perspective on what it takes, her experiences, and her perspectives. So, Emma, thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. Are you ready to dive in?
I am.
Awesome. So when we see someone else like usually doing something really well, they like achieve, a lot of stuff, we feel like, oh my God, I should be there. Like I should be doing this. Like you feel like you're falling behind. And it's so natural to feel that way. Did you ever have that feeling? And, did you ever question yourself or your progress in your journey?
Absolutely. I feel like that is something that you have to kind of outgrow. You kind of have to train yourself to stop doing it when you're comparing yourself to other people, especially in sports. It is so easy to get wrapped up in like the outcomes, what somebody else is doing, what you're not doing, or what you are doing and they aren't doing, and then they still have more success than you. So it's definitely something that you just have to continue to remind yourself, like, you're on your own journey, your own progress, and like you and the next person are in no way similar. And so I feel like those are just like the little reminders you have to kind of like affirm yourself into believing those things. And then that cancels out kind of like the comparison game between the two.
Yeah, I agree. And it's like it's such a important process that you have to keep on reminding yourself, and it's so difficult. As easy as it sounds, like it's the most difficult thing.
Yeah, it is, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that another important thing is like timing, cuz just because someone else is accomplishing something doesn't mean that you have to do it right away as well. Like they have their timing, your time's going to come too, and you have to keep, reminding yourself. And I'm a strong believer in everything happens for a reason.
Me too.
Awesome. So I feel like, that's something that I've been convincing myself. And I think as time goes on, I feel like it's actually true. And I hope, a lot of other people believe it just as you do. But when you do go through a tough path or like a patch of time, what do you do, like certain techniques or whatever you do in your day to day to remind yourself that okay, my time will come, like this is my journey? Yeah.
I think that for me, the most important thing when I start to kind of like overthink and reach a little too far for something that isn't there yet, for me, I kind of lean into my faith. I know that that's not something for everybody, but like for me, it works. I also like to go back to just like the basic things. So like, what do I know that I can do that's going to fulfill me, that's going to like fill my cup back up? So like a lot of time going on just like a walk, clearing my head, or I don't know, cooking a meal that I really enjoy, like doing small things that are considered like progress, but also don't take a ton of like brain energy from me. It kind of just like resets me. And then again, I'll every so often, like I'll have to like remind myself by giving myself kind of like those affirmations. But for the most part, I feel like once I start to overthink and question like where I'm on my path versus whoever else, I kind of lean into my faith. So
Yeah, that's awesome. Honestly, I truly I believe in God as well, and I'm not Christian, but I feel like so many of the values are the same in every
100%.
religion.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's how people connect as well. But yeah, I totally agree, and I think that it's such like a important thing to do is if you do or you don't believe in God, but I think it actually helps if you do to fall back on your faith and like turn to God and be like, okay, this like help me or honestly just like taking a second to calm down and like think about God. So many times, and probably you've related, like it just takes stress away and you forget about stuff for a second. You're like, okay, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Awesome. So another thing I wanted to talk about is social media, because it's such a big thing in today's world, and a lot of people look at other people's posts and they're like, oh my God, that's so aesthetic. Like, I need to be like that. I need to do that. Like, they're traveling. I need to do that. Where it's so like, it's so funny because in reality, they're exactly the same people as you are. They're going through the same struggles. They're probably having, personal, financial, professional problems as you are, but they're not going to put that on social media. They're only going to put the highlight reels of whatever is going on in their life. So I feel like that's something that people need to, realize. And I'm sure, like, being an athlete yourself, I was, a former student athlete. And now as well, when I've started this new journey, everybody's like, oh my God, like, you always know what you're doing. And I'm like, honestly, I don't.
Yeah.
I'm probably one of the last people that knows what I'm doing. Yeah. I'm just doing whatever comes to my mind. So I wanted to ask you today to see if like you would relate to that, and what exactly, athletically or personally, like have you seen that as a struggle looking at other people's Instagrams or social media, and have you gotten those comments as well from other people?
Yes, like yes on everything. For the longest time, it took me so long to truly realize like social media is only a highlight reel. Like nobody is going to post, even if they say that they're going to post the raw, unedited. It's never raw and unedited. It is strictly what they want you to see. And so I think for me, just keeping that in my perspective reminds me like they've got, like you said, like they've got all of these different issues that they're going through, but they're not going to post that because that's not the most aesthetic thing to show everybody. And I have gotten comments like that from people just like out of, I guess, I don't know what the right word is, but just like questioning like, how do you have like your life together? Like you always post and you look so well put together and like whatever. And I do the same thing to other people because I feel like that's like a pretty normal thing.
Yeah.
But I just always remind people like this is like social media is kind of a simulation. Like it's a highlight reel. Like I'm not going to post anything that I don't want you to see, and I'm sure you're not going to do the same for me. It's a funny story actually. One of our newer teammates, she just transferred here, but she's like kind of an influencer on like all social media, and so this entire time, and this has nothing to do with like the content she posts. I love her content, all of those things, but like even just like physicality, like for the longest time, and she's like into bodybuilding or CrossFit, those types of things, super big into fitness. And for the longest time before I actually met her in person, I was like, this girl's got to be like 6 foot. She's so strong. Like I feel so intimidated by her already just through the screen.
Right.
And then I meet her in person and like the sweetest person, the most genuine person I know. And she's all of like 5'5". And she's super strong, like super buff. Right. Yeah. But it's like, I guess my way of saying like it's a perspective shift. Like what you see through the screen is like not at all what is going on in real life. Yeah. And if it is, then good for them. But like 99% of the time it's not. So I think reminding myself of that is like something that really helps me.
Yeah, no, and it's so good that you mentioned that because, a lot of times I feel like a lot of people don't even know that, like that life is the same. Like they're not like, everybody's special in their own way, but they're not like extra special just because they're doing, whatever, social media or whatever, or, whatever it may be. They're exactly the same human beings that are, going through the same struggles. So I'm glad you mentioned that. I wanted to say, like, one of the causes, like, for this, comparison, with yourself and seeing other people, I think that usually happens, like, starting at a young age for people, because that's the time that they're learning behavior and talking and whatnot. So I think that a lot of it goes into their environment. So their closest circle, their mentors, their coaches, their teachers, their friends make the mistake of those like competitive like statements that are comparing their kid, their friend, their student to other people, where they're like, oh, that person's doing this, like, and you're not, so maybe you should do that. And as easy as that statement is, and as fast as it goes, like it sticks with the person, and that could happen at a young age or an older age. But I feel like it's something that people should limit saying because it can really carry forward. And I feel like that's one of the causes of people that excessively think about, you know, this all the time is I'm not good enough. And they got to get out of that delusion. And I feel like that's probably a main cause. Well, what are your thoughts on that?
I agree with you. I think that the people that you surround yourself with 1000% have an impact on what you think about yourself and how you see other people.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of it stems from like your family directly because you're around them the most from like ages 0 to most likely 18 until you go to college. And I think that the way that they um, raise you up and the things that they say about themselves, you, your siblings, other family members, all of those things. I think that that has a huge impact on it. And I was fortunate enough to be raised by parents that did a good job and were very mindful of the things that they said. But I know like so many teammates and so many friends outside of sports that weren't as fortunate with that. And then I also think that, and this is the sports side of me talking, but I think that a lot of times, like in team sports particularly, like kids are raised to like have that competitive edge against their other teammates. Whether or not you're going to say it out loud, you're always competing for a spot with somebody else. And so I think that like the comparison game comes along with that naturally because you're competing with them, you're seeing what they're doing that you're not, that you can get better at so that you can take their spot. All of those components go into it. And I think that if we can just eliminate the comparison game between like kid to kid and instead try to teach this like I hate saying that, but like this younger generation to look within and just keep bettering themselves so that they can better somebody else.
Yeah.
I think that that's when like the true competition comes out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But I agree with everything else that you said too.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. And I've been, you know, fortunate like you where I've had, you know, a very mindful family and parents that have always been supportive. I will say I've had coaches that have been constantly, you know, the stuff that they said was very, sometimes when I look, I'm like, why would you ever say that to me?
To kids of all, yeah.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, how dare you? Like, that's disrespectful.
Mm-hmm.
And I can speak for myself. It did affect me, and I'm sure it's affected so many other people as well. You know, whether it's their confidence or them thinking, oh my God, now I have to do like this
Mm-hmm.
constant thing
Mm-hmm.
to like keep up. But yeah, I agree with everything that you said. So I know you already spoke a little bit about this, but what is one advice or a couple advices that you could give to somebody that's watching right now, and you know, something that they can use practically in their everyday when they do get into this kind of simulation mode and they can't get out?
I would definitely say you have to kind of force yourself into believing what you're telling yourself, like whether that means you have to repeat it to yourself 5 times a day, put a sticky note on your mirror so that you can read it every day, whatever you're going through, whatever you're struggling with, believing the comparison game, all of those things. I think you have to constantly remind yourself and like will yourself into believing what you're telling yourself. And you kind of just have to put yourself in like the perspective of everything is happening for a reason, like you said. And no matter what happens, like life is not a sprint, it is a marathon. And like not everything that is happening right now is the end of the world. Like it's gonna all come back into perspective and it's gonna end up being like working out really well for you.
Yeah.
There has been so many like life situations that have happened to everybody else, but like I feel like everybody has like a thing that has happened that they're like, oh my gosh, like I can't ever recover from this. Like you said, like bad coaches or like a bad family environment, like any of these things. I feel like the difference between moving on from it and like staying in that same place and like living in that simulation, like you said, is looking at it from the scope of I can grow from this and I can keep trekking forward with it, or this can kind of pull me back and like be a really negative thing for me. So I feel like a lot of it is the mindset, and that's something that you have to kind of mature and realize as you get older. But yeah, I think that just affirming yourself and like just growing into like the mature mindset can really help.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an awesome advice. And I think people underestimate, actually affirming to themselves, on a daily basis. It doesn't have to be like every second of the
Mm-mm.
day, but, you can take 5, 10 minutes of your time or even less and just say one thing to yourself, two things, whatever. I know everybody has busy schedules, but I think people underestimate how well it works. And, over a course of time, it can affect the way you think,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, yes, thank you so much. Um, and I think lastly, it's important that we know, like, and we remember it is so natural to sometimes compare. And it's not that you need to stop yourself from thinking that. It's more of managing how you feel from it, where your energy is consuming, thinking of it and being like, okay, like this, I need to stop this here. And then doing what you need to do, like routines or whatever, like you said, and just to, like at the end, like knowing that your time will come,
Mm-hmm.
and at some point everybody's time will come, right? So, and I think just knowing that
Mm-hmm.
is what helps. But thank you so much,
Yeah,
Emma.
thank you.
This was so helpful for me and for everybody that was probably watching. This is going to be it for today, but tune in for our next episode, and until then, keep doing you. Thank you, guys.